Hey, why don't we go ahead and get started? So, hello everyone. I'm Dr. Meg Bouvier. You know me as the creator of your library of NIH grantsmanship courses. I have over 35 years of experience as an applicant, an intramural researcher, a staff writer, and now a full-time NIH grant mentor. I've helped clients land over $500 million in federal funding, and I'm here to answer your grant writing questions. So grab a cup of coffee and let's get started. So if you are attending live, just a reminder that you're in listen-only mode, so you can type your questions into the Q&A box. If you have things you want to share that are relevant to what we're discussing, you can put that in the chat box. If you're watching this as a recording, either in our course library or on our open YouTube channel, just a reminder that it is April 2nd, 2025, and everything is true to the best of our knowledge as of today, but boy, oh boy, things are changing very, very quickly at NIH. So we encourage you always to verify anything that we talk about here. So what you should be viewing in the library now, I would say that hopefully by now if you're preparing for a June submission, and I know many of you are, you've probably watched the first couple of chapters of Master the R series, or maybe you went to the recent boot camp. Hopefully you've worked your way through the checklists of at least the first two chapters, and if not all of it. And at this point, you're iterating drafts with colleagues and mentors and really kind of fine tuning the content based on feedback from other people and things you learned in the course. Okay, so in terms of the NIH updates, so today the topic was scheduled to be a discussion of the upcoming change to the NIH Biosketch, and as such, I had my friend Dr. Rebecca Miro coming to talk to us about the NIH Biosketch. And as she and I were preparing for this session, lo and behold, the change is not coming. Initially, this change was meant to be to the NIH Biosketch was meant to be implemented for deadlines on or after May 25th, and alas, they have postponed it indefinitely. But having said that, Becky has prepared information about how to load your information into Sciencev, which is still relevant to the current NIH Biosketch. And I personally suggest that we move forward with this anyway, because you can start using Sciencev now in terms of preparing your Biosketch, and then you would be poised to take advantage of the upcoming change. So anybody who would like us to do that, just give us a thumbs up or raise your hand so that we know that that's what you'd like us to do. And meanwhile, I will have Becky introduce herself so that and we're going to be taking Q&A regardless of whether we decide to do that, but we're definitely getting thumbs up, so we're going to go ahead and do it. So Becky, tell us a little about yourself.
So hi everyone. Yeah, so I have about at this point probably 25 years as a research administrator, mostly in higher ed. Although I've had smaller gigs is nonprofit foundations that friends of mine run and were successful in getting some grants that way. I have been a CRA since 2004, which was the first year that was available. And I have a PhD in higher ed administration with a research methods concentration. And like Meg mentioned, the purpose of today's talk was going to be to talk about the new NIH Biosketch, which was meant to adapt the common form. And then NIH still wanted to capture some of what they've been capturing so far in the Biosketch. And they were going to generate what they were calling a supplemental form to capture stuff like the contributions to science. So in preparation for that, and because I support faculty, I started working my way through science just to know what we were going to be dealing with. So let me go ahead and share.
Do you need me to?
I'm getting a message that.
Okay, try again.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. And so basically
we're not seeing the slides yet.
One more share. I'm sorry.
There we go. Yep, we got it.
All right. So basically, the information that you put into Science now will it'll be the same information. NIH was going to release an API, which was going to take these data fields and then basically massage it into the common form and the supplemental form. So what you're putting in is going to be the same stuff. So let's start going through the PowerPoint here. So basically, Science is part of the National Library of Medicine and part of NCBI, which I didn't know. And as I was working my way through, I learned that. I usually access it directly. I just Google Science, and then it gives me this page, and you can choose to sign in via ERA Commons or NSF or a couple of more options. I always just go in through ERA because I have my login saved. If you were to go from NCBI, it's going to look a little bit differently. It kind of threw me for a loop the first time. And then it gives you a bunch of options like sign in via ERA Commons or your Google account or ORCID or login.gov. You can try any of those. Again, I just stick to ERA Commons. Oh, got a duplicate slide here. So so once you're logged in, if you don't have a Biosketch created yet, you're gonna click here to start a new CV. One thing I'm gonna note here for everyone is because I support faculty, I have a researcher who has already delegated her CV to me. I've blocked it out here just for privacy, what her name is, but you would have it down here if you're a research administrator. And for those faculty who might be listening who do have the luxury of support staff, this is an idea that you might want to take on, is to let them transfer the information for you from your current Biosketch into here. It's not hard. It's just a lot of copying and pasting, honestly. And so I've been working on one for her. So you would see it here. The only thing I'll add is that the one thing that a research administrator can't do for a delegated Biosketch is link to ORCID. So I have my own ORCID and I have my own NCBI. And so when I was working on this faculty member's Biosketch and I tried to link the ORCID, it was linking mine, not hers. So I've done all I can in her Biosketch and in putting in all the information. And at some point, she'll need to log in and then just link those two things. That's the one thing that didn't work for me. So once you're in, the first thing you're going to do is go to your profile. And here is, again, where you can create a document. And again, down here, delegated accounts. And if you're a research admin or anyone who has something delegated to them, it would show up down here. Oh, hang on. There we go. Once you start, you give your document a name. You select what document type, so NIH Biosketch in this case. And then a couple of things. I started with a blank document. I didn't test the external source or the existing document features, but they are there. So I started with the blank template. And the first part, now this is going to start looking a lot like an NIH Biosketch. The first part was your personal information. So your name, city, state, all that is optional. And then in this screenshot, I've already linked the ORCID ID, but if you hadn't done that, you'll be prompted there to go ahead and link. And you'll have to know your ORCID number. And if you want to link to your ERA Commons, you can do that as well. Next is education and training. And the big difference here is just you're typing into fields instead of typing into the table in the current format. And when we get down to positions and honors and things like that, it'll be the same thing. You'll be typing into fields instead of typing in Word. So here is, here's what the boxes look like, and here's what it turns into. So, and you can add as many as you need. And when you're done, save and you complete that section. Then here's how it looks like as you're working your way down. You're going to have a personal statement, which I have a screenshot coming up. positions and scientific appointments and honors, and contributions to science. For your personal statement, it's a typable box. Whoops, keep losing that. All right. Make sure that when you're done typing a personal statement, you click that green checkbox. Otherwise, it will not save it. What I thought was really nice was that because I have ORCID and my bibliography linked here, you can select the publications that you want to support that personal statement without having to type them in.
So this is the one place where, well, maybe not the one place, but one of the key places where your information would differ from application to application, because your personal statement, some of it's going to be consistent across applications, but some of it is going to speak very specifically to a given application, as will the supporting publications that you select. So this part, is one of the parts that will change from application to application.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because one thing you can do once you've done one Biosketch is you can duplicate it, and you can save more than one NIH Biosketch in here, and then just have different personal statements based on the lines of research. Okay, so positions, scientific appointments and honors, same thing, typable box. Some fields are required, some are optional. So one thing is that you have to, I have some faculty who like to separate those things, and this is going to generate it all in one list. So meaning positions, honors, scientific appointments. So honors do go separate, positions, scientific appointments go together. And you enter them. Let me see if I've got one better screenshot than that on the next slide. So again, so this one is from the faculty that I'm supporting. It's mostly blank because I blanked it out for privacy reasons, but the dates are accurate. And so you can see how many entries there are, 25 for positions and 29 for honors. Again, all of this, there's actual text there. I'm just blanking it out. And if for whatever reason you didn't want to list a particular entry, you uncheck it. So if you want everything to carry over into the Biosketch, you have to check them all. If you want something to not carry over, you uncheck it. And it even reminds you here, but I didn't listen the first time I was doing it. And so I was wondering why things weren't showing up. Okay, and then here's the contributions to science, same idea, typable box, save it, and then select your 4 publications underneath. This is what it looks like once you've got your four contributions to science. You can tab from one to the other. So you can see there's a 1, 2, 3, 4.
But you can go back and 5. Is this
okay?
Yeah, it even says you can add up to 5 contributions. It's 4 citations for each of the 5 contributions, but I'm not sure why.
This person, and this is not mine, this is the researcher, she had 4, opted for 4.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And so you're right, up to 5. Yeah, up to 5 contributions and 4 citations. And we had not gotten to that part because this is what I was saying earlier, that I was having issues with her ORCID. It was trying to pull mine in. So this is why. This is a screenshot from hers, and that's why there's no citations here.
Got it.
And then when you're done putting all the information in, you can generate a Word version of it, which is kind of nice in case you want to tweak anything. You can generate a PDF of it or the XML version. And I did not do that step. And then once you're done and you go back to let me go back to the beginning here. Here you'll have, oh goodness, yeah, here we go. I think it's down here where you'll have however many Biosketches you create. Like if you want to have 2 or 3 different ones with different personal statements, they'll be there.
Great.
I'll stop sharing on that. sort of it in a nutshell. And like I mentioned, my expectation was that had they implemented the changes, maybe we were going to see something here,
Yeah.
supplemental form, common form, something to that effect.
Yep. So again, this change was scheduled to go through for deadlines on or after May 25th. That has been postponed indefinitely. But having said that, I think it's almost certain that at some point they're going to implement this change because I think if I remember correctly, the reason that they made this change was to make sure that the biosketches were the same across federal agencies.
Right.
And the nice thing about beginning to work in this cyan form is that you can use it now, and then you're perfectly poised to implement the new format because instead of, as Becky said, instead of typing things into a template, you're putting the exact same information into data fields, and then when the form is the new format is implemented, the data fields will populate the form as needed. We did get a couple of questions about whether or not this video would be available. So somebody asked if it would be available on our YouTube channel. It will be, but more importantly, it's going to be available on the course dashboard in the Ask the Grant Writing Expert course. And everybody on this call should be a member because at this point we're back to just members only. I know our last one was open to the public, but right now this is just members only. And we do ask that whenever possible, you look at it on the course dashboard because then we can capture that usage and report it back to the people who make decisions about purchasing the membership. We can't track your usage on the open YouTube channel. But if you have colleagues who are not members, they're welcome to go take a look at the video on the YouTube channel. We do post it more quickly on the course dashboard than we do on the open YouTube channel, so that's another thing. Okay, so and somebody had let me know that my sound was lower. So hopefully that's been I went in and tinkered with the settings, so hopefully the sound is better. Sometimes Zoom just arbitrarily lowers my output volume. I don't know why, but I was on a call this morning and there was a problem. So if there's still a problem hearing me, let me know, because goodness knows, as a former New Yorker, I could be super loud. Okay, so we do have a couple of questions. So, and Becky does want to talk about a couple of changes that occurred in the last week. I'm going to quickly take the questions so that we're sure to get to them. One of them is from a person whose application was miraculously reviewed and didn't get a good review, and the person was able to speak to the PO earlier today. It's the first time I've heard of somebody reaching a PO, so that's exciting. The PO was enthusiastic and suggested that the reviewers just didn't get the concept because it was a clinical trial and they were not trialists or even clearly trialists. He advised that I could submit an A1 revision to a different study section or submit an entirely new application, but he thought an A1 resubmission to the same study section would not be a good idea because I'd have a better chance with new reviewers. What do you think about this advice? I've read extensively that resubmissions tend to be more frequently funded. Any issues with resubmitting an A1 to a new study section? Yeah, I have an opinion about this, and I'll check in with Becky too, but I think it is allowed. You can put in an A1 and ask for a different study section. In my experience, the new study section doesn't receive the application without a lot of questions and raised eyebrows. It's not a great look. So I would, they start to have questions about, well, what was your issue with the old study section? Well, why are you coming to us? Like this, like they have all kinds of questions about what's your problem that you couldn't go to because it's highly unusual to resubmit and ask for a new study section, although it's allowed. So you could do that, but I would suggest one of two other possibilities. I would probably suggest creating an A0 and putting it into a new study section, using any usable critiques you got from the original study section that were not the result of them not having trial experience. Or the other thing you could consider doing is you could send it to the original study section and ask for a trialist as an ad hoc reviewer. That's another option. You could contact the SRO and say, in order to get a fair and impartial review, that's the phrase you want to use, in order to get a fair and impartial review on this A1, I feel that I would need somebody with clinical trial expertise on the panel. You can't name a person, but you could name a type of expertise that you want represented on the panel. And then ask the SRO, would you be willing to add that expertise? So I think that would be my second choice. I think my first choice would be to retool it, put it in as an A0 to a new study section, because a new study section is going to have a whole new batch of comments to make. Becky, do you have an opinion about that? Have you encountered that situation?
We actually recently had one where, not exactly this scenario, but we included the assignment request form and included a very specific role, like you mentioned, expertise, and they still sent it to a different study section.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I should have said that. Thanks for reminding me. You could, in addition to contacting the SRO, in the assignment request form, you can also request a certain type of expertise. So, but if it were me, I think I would probably do an A0 to a new study section and just kind of retool. Okay, let's see. Pronunciation question. I've learned to call it Science-cee-vee, but I think I'm hearing you say, I have no idea. I've only seen it in writing, Liz. So you're schooling us. So maybe it is called Science-cee-vee.
I've called it Science-cv, but then I heard you call it earlier Science, so I was like, well, maybe
Yeah, what do I
since
know?
you're in NIH, they call it something different internally.
Nope. I'm gonna go with Science-cee-vee. Let's go with that. Are you going to force us to use this tool to make Biosketch, or is it optional? It's optional. So Ali is asking about whether it's definitely optional. The requirement for this new Biosketch format has been postponed indefinitely. So if you're happy not using this tool and you want to just keep doing it the old-fashioned way, go right ahead. That's until further notice, that's acceptable. If we have papers focused on equity, and maybe even that is one of our contributions to science, does inputting your data into the Biosketch tool make it easier for them to find researchers doing equity work and blacklist grants, or am I overthinking? I think you're overthinking. I'm not sure that they're going to be. I think they're going to be analyzing text in sections like the specific aims page, the 30-line summary, probably the research strategy. But I don't know that they're going to start digging deeply into like the Biosketch and the human subjects form and things like that. But the answer to that is nobody knows yet, right? So if that is a concern, you could delay using this tool. That might be a very legitimate reason to delay using it. I'm just making a guess, right? Because nobody really knows the answer to that yet, because we don't have data points on that yet. So so that might be a reason to delay using it. So in our last couple of minutes, Becky, we have one more question. How they can see your Biosketch in the future if submitting it in the Science-cv but not submitting with the grant? So Becky, it's going to be it is being submitted with the grant. You're just using this tool to create it. But
Right. So Biosketches will still go in with grant applications. This Science-cv was going to be mandatory, I believe, if they had gone to the common forms and to the supplemental form. Since that's been paused indefinitely, you can use this tool to create your Biosketch, but I'm going to guess most people have it in a Word document already, so you can just keep using that. If the day comes that they do implement the common forms Biosketch format and the supplemental form, then you would have to use Science-cv to put the information in there so that it could generate that supplemental form.
Once adopted, will the investigator need to certify that the final biosketch before download? This is how it works for NSF, which already requires it, and that's probably how it's going to work here as well.
Hmm.
Because it is the whole idea behind adopting it was to make it the same across federal agencies. So my guess is, however, it's being implemented in other federal agencies is how they'll implement it at NIH. So, okay, and in our last minute or two, Becky, do you want to run through the changes that we have seen in the last week at NIH?
Sure. So when they released the update that the Biosketch common form and the supplemental form were delayed indefinitely, they had a couple of other things. So one of it is for fellowship grants. So parent fellowship opportunities with April 8th and May 7th due dates were instructed to still use Forms H. Non-parent fellowship applications use Form I. Of course, they removed several diversity items. So plans for enhancing diverse perspective, or PEDP, they've been removed from funding opportunities. PEDPs in applications that are under review won't be evaluated or considered in the funding decision. Diversity plans are no longer required in conference grant applications. The plans to enhance diversity is no longer required in training grant applications. And
The
the forms, mhm, go ahead.
the conference ones are R15s, right? Or
Yes,
R13s,
there
or
are
R13.
R13s and U13s. I think there's two.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. U is just a
Um,
sort of agreement, so it's a networked group of conferences. So it's R13 or U13. Yeah.
and then the Forms I training data tables were revised to remove the calculations for the percent of underrepresented minorities. Um,
For training applications, the T's.
mhm, the training data tables, yeah. And then there was a note that said a trainee diversity report for institutional training grants, career development awards, and most research education grants is no longer required in the RPPR and should not be included. So don't include the trainee diversity report in the progress report.
Okay. So there are some changes to that were made in Forms I to the institutional training grants, the T series. We had just updated that course, of course, right? So we have plans to update those lessons, the affected lessons, in the upcoming months. Becky's going to be helping me with that. But in the meantime, we did insert a very prominent notice at the beginning of the Master the T32 course, spelling out what the changes are and hyperlinking to places where you can get more information. So just in case anybody on the call is planning on writing a T32, just that very first lesson in the Master the T32 course spells out what the changes are and alerts you to the fact that we will be updating those lessons, as soon as we can. We've kind of got to get through the next round of deadlines before we can turn our attention to updating courses. So,
I was going to ask Riley, can you share that link that I just dropped in our chat with the attendees, please? It's where I got all of that information from NIH. It's an extramural nexus link.
great. Okay, and we are at time, and so I will let you know that on 2 weeks from today, April 16th, Emily Clemens will be coming back. Recall that I've had her guest a couple of times. She's the person who was the program director at CDMRP, the Army portfolio. She fairly recently left and now has a consulting business, very professional, smart, skilled person. So if you have any interest in working with her, I recommend that you reach out. But she'll be coming back to talk to us about the SBIR overview and what's new. And then on April 30th, Dr. Natasha Goldman will be visiting, and I can't remember if we've ever had her on. But she'll be talking to us about from federal to foundation grants, the 5 essential elements of every grant application. So those are the two that guests that will be coming up. And then, of course, in May, I'll be doing Q&A. So I know a lot of you attended the March 19th open session, which was very heavily attended. My team and I were talking today about the fact that I think we're gonna do those periodically, kind of open it up to the public and invite people to kind of come together and talk about strategies for surviving the current volatility and chaos on the NIH landscape. So if people have suggestions, we're thinking of doing that like potentially in early September again. If people have suggestions about whether they'd like us to do that and suggestions for what to focus on or the timing of it, just let us know. I'm always open to any suggestions you have. Just email meg@bouviergrant.com. And otherwise, Becky, thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to share expertise with you. I'm sure everybody really appreciated learning about everything. And we're getting another thank you in the Q&A. So, and I just want to say again, I know that this is a really challenging time for everybody. And I just want to remind people that there are a lot of support folks out there, whether they're people like me or your pre-award folks or your RD folks, who are really anxious to do whatever we can to help you in this current funding climate for whatever it's worth. We're all like cheering you on and want to help in any way we can. So please lean on us and come to us with your questions. We recognize that you guys do incredibly important work. We just have so much respect for you and really want to help in any way we can. So please don't hesitate to reach out with questions and hang in there. And as the French would say, courage. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks, everybody. Take care. Good luck. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.